Chosen one, the eyes can trespass long before the body moves an inch. Train your gaze to approach as a guest, not a thief. Respect arrives first. If admiration arrives at all, it must come through that door. Begin your discipline early, in the quiet hour when no one is looking back. Practice seeing without grasping. Let your eyes rest on a tree without wanting a photograph, on a street without rehearsing a story to tell about it, on your own reflection without negotiating for a different face. When looking ceases to be acquisition, it becomes blessing. Only then are you ready to meet another person's seeing. When a woman enters your field, decide quickly, again and again, that she is not an answer to your emptiness and not a canvas for your projection. She is sovereign. Your eyes must communicate this before your mouth has time to help. Keep the gaze level, not evaluating, not fragmenting. Do not inventory. Do not scan for proof that you are winning at anything. If admiration begins to rise, which is natural and often holy, dress it in dignity before you let it show. Dignity ensures that praise, when spoken, will not make her feel turned into an object by the very compliment that was meant to honor her. Calibrate the length and weight of your look the way a craftsman calibrates pressure. Consent is not only for touch, it is for sight. Too long and too heavy says you have come to take. Too brief and evasive says you cannot bear the beauty of what is real. Find the middle, a steady presence that holds and releases with rhythm. You will sense the rightness by the body's replies that cannot be faked. The shoulder that lowers, the breath that deepens, the jaw that unclenches. When those arrive, you have read the meter well. When they do not, lighten your regard and give space. Respect listens more than it stares. Look for the person before the performance. Many are practiced at presenting what the world rewards: the curated sentence, the practiced angle, the efficient wit. Let your gaze linger not on the polish, but on the life peeking out beneath it. The question that wants a kinder room, the tenderness that refuses to harden, the fatigue that still makes room for courtesy. When you name what you saw, do it softly and with evidence. I noticed how you asked the quiet colleague to finish. The whole meeting breathed differently. That sort of seeing does not flatter, it recognizes. Recognition builds trust, flattery spends it. Guard against the quick hunger of appraisal. Appraisal assesses value for trade, respect confers value for its own sake. You can hear the difference in the sentences that rise. Appraisal says, "You look incredible tonight," which may be true but can land like a price tag. Respect says, "The way you've made this space gentle is beautiful. I feel it in my shoulders." One evaluates a surface, the other honors an influence. If you praise appearance, let it be in the key of reverence, not acquisition, and let it share the stage with praises that require attention and memory to offer. Learn to avert without abandoning. There are moments when modesty, culture, safety, or simple courtesy asks you to look away. Do so with composure, not panic, and return at the invitation of context, not the insistence of appetite. A man who can control his gaze becomes legible as safe without losing any of the aliveness that makes him interesting. Women know in an instant the difference between a gaze that backs off because it was caught and a gaze that backs off because it is considerate. The first shrinks trust, the second widens it. Make your eyes students of context. In a sanctuary, your gaze should be prayerful. In a boardroom, responsible. On a sidewalk at night, non-intrusive and aware. In conversation, let your eyes include those at the margins, not only the charismatic center. If someone is telling a story they fear will bore, use your eyes to pay them the dignity of full attention. If someone is being overlooked, turn your gaze to them first when the next question is asked. Eyes can redistribute power. Use yours to return the room to fairness. Practice the craft of gentle correction with your sight. When cruelty slips into the chatter, a steady, unamused look can often do the work of a speech. When a friend is about to embarrass themselves with a swagger that doesn't fit the moment, catch their eye and offer a tiny, playful wince. When someone is grieving, let your eyes remain present without performing sadness. Such looks are not manipulations. They are signals inside a trusted code. They become possible when your eyes have earned their reputation for honesty. Keep wonder alive behind your pupils. Wonder is what prevents admiration from becoming predatory. When you look with wonder, you are not trying to own what you behold. You are consenting to be taught by it. Wonder says, I did not know beauty could arrive like this today. Thank you for bringing it. Wonder does not reduce a person to the attribute that first dazzled you. It asks for the story of how that attribute was formed and how it serves what is truer and deeper. Women feel the difference immediately. Being wondered at is spacious. Being devoured by awe is exhausting. Let your gaze practice blessing in secret. On the train, under your breath, bless the tired mother and the teenager practicing bravery with their clothes, and the elder carrying a bag heavier than the world thinks they can carry. At the cafe, bless the barista's speed and the patron's patience and the baker's early morning. Bless with your eyes as you bless with your words. May your courage not cost you too much today. May your kindness return with interest. May your work be seen by someone who matters to you. This habit will put a softness in your face that no lotion can manufacture. It is the softness of a man who looks to give before he looks to gain. Hold yourself accountable for the echoes your eyes leave behind. After a conversation, ask what footprints you're seeing made. Did someone feel cataloged or accompanied? Did attention gather where dignity was thin, or did it gather where ego was already full? Adjust tomorrow's looking based on today's answers. This is not scrupulosity, it is stewardship. The eyes you carry shape the world you inhabit. When they pay respect before they flatter, they make room for souls to stand up straight. In that posture, interest takes care of itself. Walk on, chosen one, with eyes trained by reverence and animated by curiosity. Let the first message they send be, "You are safe to remain yourself here." Let the second be, "I am glad you are here." If a third arrives and it is admiration, let it travel inside those first two like a guest who knows the house rules. Women will not merely feel seen, they will feel honored. And honor, far more than flattery, is the secret language of charm that lasts. Chosen one, there is a way of being unknown that feeds trust rather than starving it. Many learn to hoard their interiors, to ration sentences and orchestrate pauses until curiosity becomes a leash. That is not your craft. Your mystery is not the absence of information, it is the presence of integrity. You are not fog, you are depth. Fog hides to control. Depth invites to explore. Depth says there is more here because there has been more living, more listening, more repair than one conversation can carry. The feminine heart senses it the way a shoreline reads the tide, without calculation, with certainty. She leans closer, not because you have barred the door, but because you have opened it at the right speed. You learned the cadence of revelation by failing it a few times and paying for it. You saw how oversharing turns confession into a spectacle that crowds out genuine closeness. You saw how withholding makes intimacy feel like a test with no answer key. So you chose another road. You let your story unfold the way bread rises, quietly, on time, in a room warm enough to welcome, but not hot enough to rush. When a woman asks a question, you answer the one she asked, not the one your ego prefers. When she does not ask, you do not smuggle in a monologue disguised as vulnerability. Your mystery respects her freedom to wonder and your responsibility to be true. Your privacy isn't a fortress, it's a garden with a gate and a path. You keep the gate unlocked but attended. Strangers are welcome to admire the outer rose, your humor, your craft, your kindness that shows itself early because it wants to. Friends walk farther, where stories begin to name themselves, where failures are compost rather than trophies, where lessons are offered without a sermon. Beloveds are welcome to the arbor in the back, where the oldest vines climb a trellis built from long obedience. Nothing about this is theatrical. The doorways are not puzzles. The path is not a maze, but there is an order, and the order is what makes the place beautiful instead of barren. The order also makes you trustworthy. A man without thresholds is a man without stewardship. A man with walls is a man without welcome. You carry thresholds that know how to greet. You do not collect attention, you allow it. At a gallery opening, you are the one whose conversation doesn't orbit your knowledge, but escorts others into their noticing. Your questions do not audition for cleverness. They locate the pulse in another's experience. What light surprised you in this room? Which brushstroke felt like somebody telling the truth? She hears the difference. You are not fishing for admiration. You are granting permission to feel. In a bookstore line, you make room for the woman ahead to talk about the passage she keeps rereading, and you offer the smallest sentence that lets her keep the floor. Your restraint is not reluctance, it is care. You know that mystery thrives in spaces where people can take up space. You keep your ambitions legible without demanding sponsorship. You can name what you are building and why, and then you go back to building. The drama of becoming does not require an audience to be real. This is disorienting to a world that confuses announcements with progress. It is unreasonably attractive to those who have watched announcements devour the work they were meant to introduce. The feminine spirit is allergic to the hunger behind manufactured mystique. It relaxes around a man whose trajectory is discernible without being broadcast, whose confidence is audible without needing to be amplified. You let silence be a place to sit, not a void to fill. When a story breaks open and grief rises, you do not speed to soft landings. When joy arrives and words lag behind, you refuse to caption it into smallness. The stillness between sentences becomes a chapel where both of you can breathe. In that air, your mystery reads not as distance, but as depth. It says, I have room for this. It says, I am not afraid of what you will discover if you pause. It says, the world outside us will be impatient, but we don't have to be. Because you do not manipulate, your surprises are gifts, not tactics. You bring flowers that share a scent with a memory she once entrusted to you. You do not brandish them like leverage. You reserve a corner table not to impress, but to protect a conversation you sensed would need privacy. You do not photograph it to prove you planned well. You send a sentence at the right hour that turns anxiety into a solvable thing. You do not stack messages into a staircase she must climb to pay you attention. Your timing is thoughtful, and your thoughtfulness is quiet. This is the kind of mystery that remains interesting after the first season, because it always arrives dressed in respect. Temptation will visit as you grow more compelling. It will suggest that suspense is a currency you can mint at will. Delay your reply, withhold a fact, drape a sentence in half-meaning. It promises that hunger will increase and assumes hunger is what you want. Chosen one, you know better. You are not a scarcity artist, you are a steward of plenty. Plenty doesn't perform coyness, it practices proportion. If delay will make a moment kinder, you wait. If immediacy will keep a worry from flowering, you speak. Your aim is nourishment, not dependency. Chosen ones refuse any method that cultivates attention by starving trust. Your ambiguity is never moral. On the things that define safety, you are explicit. You state what you will not do. You state what you will repair if you fail. You state how you honor boundaries and how you receive correction. Paradox, when you hold it, lives in the generous places, joy that knows sorrow, strength that kneels, certainty about kindness and curiosity about almost everything else. Your mystery does not confuse, it harmonizes. It is the pleasant surprise of hearing two notes you didn't know could belong together until someone patient tuned them. You treat the past as context, not currency. You refuse to extract interest from former pain by cashing it into present control. The stories you share about what hurt you are framed in accountability and gratitude. I learned this, I return that, I let this go. You do not weaponize your wounds. You do not recruit pity to do persuasion's work. Nothing is more disarming than a man who can tell the truth about suffering without asking it to make him special. Nothing is more intriguing than a man who has metabolized his history into blessing. And when desire enters, your mystery becomes devotion. You are direct in your admiration and discerning in your pace. You say, I am drawn to you without adding, and you owe me now. You say, I want to know you without making knowledge a conquest. You allow a woman's freedom to remain whole around your interest, which is why her curiosity can translate into affection without fear. You keep your center while you extend your hand. The gesture is ancient, and it is still the most compelling one we have. I'll meet you where you are and walk at the speed you can trust. Chosen one, charm that endures is not a spotlight. It is a power source. When your energy holds its own, it neither steals from others nor leaks into them. It is not a vacuum dressed like charisma. It is a steady current born of ordered loves, honest rest, and work that keeps its covenant with meaning. People stand near you and feel less hurried, not more. They sit with you and become more themselves, not less. This is not because you absorb their discomfort. It is because you know how to keep your center while you offer it. You begin before the world can reach for its switches. Breath is your inlet, prayer your transformer, attention your conductor, boundaries your insulation. You wake and refuse to let a device decide your voltage. You drink water as if a map were being uncrumpled inside your chest. You move your body until you can hear it again. Then, and only then, you approach the day, not as a problem to outrun, but as a field to cultivate. The field may be spreadsheets, scaffolds, children's lunches, budgets, brushstrokes, or bedsides, where someone you love needs the kind of patience only practiced people can give. Whatever the work, you bring the same current, consistent, available, sane. Your independence is not defiance, it is clarity. You do not ask strangers to regulate your mood. You do not audition for approval to feel real. You can be alone without accusing the room of abandoning you. You can be together without draining the room to stay afloat. The signal you broadcast is simple and rare. I am responsible for my weather. This does not mean you are unfeeling. It means your feelings are citizens, not kings. It means your joy is generous and your sorrow is legible. Feminine women read this signal as safety disguised as magnetism. Attraction that doesn't borrow becomes nourishment. Attraction that borrows becomes debt. You have learned the ecology of attention. You know that wherever attention goes, life grows. So you spend it on what you want to multiply. You aim it at craft until competence blooms. You aim it at people until dignity rises in them like yeast. You refuse the constant auction of outrage. You refuse the drip of novelty that empties the well. Your feed is not your foreman. You let wonder, not panic, set your gaze. The compound interest of this stewardship is visible in your presence. Rooms trust you with their focus because you do not hoard it. You return it better than you found it. In crisis, your energy does not spike for applause. It lowers for accuracy. You are the person who says first things first and then actually does them. If there is bleeding, you stop it. If there is shouting, you soften it. If there is confusion, you translate. Your calm is not passive. It is the most active thing in the room. Later, when adrenaline begs for posturing, you refuse its invitation and go wash the dishes. Return the call, send the summary that lets the rest of the team sleep. People will forget who made the speech. They will remember who made the work livable. This memory becomes heat in the heart and ease in the body whenever you arrive. You keep your appetites on leashes long enough to train them into companions. Food is fuel and celebration, not penance or proof. Work is vocation and provision, not a substitute for intimacy. Romance is sacrament and play, not anesthesia for anxiety. Leisure is restoration and delight, not avoidance wearing pajamas. Because the leashes are gentle and held by love, not fear, your appetites learn their paths. They heal when asked, run when released, rest when called. A man at peace with his appetites reads as powerful without menace. He can be generous without being spent. He can be desired without becoming devouring. This is the kind of power the feminine finds irresistible because it does not threaten to make her nervous system pay for your pleasures. You are porous in the right directions. You let beauty in and let bitterness pass by without lodging. You let correction enter and let shame keep walking. You let gratitude flood and let flattery evaporate. This porosity is not an accident. You installed filters on purpose. You chose friends who tell you the unpolished truth with unshakable affection. You chose mentors who embody futures you can admire without envying. You chose practices that scrub your soul, confession, long walks, real rest, hard conversations ended with forgiveness instead of a scorecard. The result is an energy that smells like fresh air, even after long days in stale rooms. Holding your own energy does not mean hoarding it. It means you can lend it wisely. In a meeting drifting into the swamp of vague ambition, you become specific. In a family dinner circling old quarrels, you become gentle and new. In a hospital corridor where minutes stretch into fear, you become patient enough to be a clock. Lending like this does not bankrupt you because you also know how to refill without stealing. You leave earlier than spectacle demands and later than indifference allows. You sleep when you said you would. You say no in sentences that keep the door unbroken. You schedule joy the way responsible people schedule maintenance, because joy is what keeps the engine from grinding. Your body becomes a trustworthy instrument for your energy. You do not weaponize height, bulk, speed, voice. You modulate. When the space is small, you soften your edges. When the person is shaken, you lower your tone. When the task is technical, you slow your hands. When the moment is celebratory, you expand without eclipsing. To the one across from you, this feels like relief wearing charisma's clothes. She recognizes that your attention will never make her smaller to make you feel bigger. She recognizes that your presence does not require the temperature to reach a fever to feel alive. Fever burns. Warmth sustains. Power has taught you how to be kind, and kindness has taught you how to be powerful. You give compliments that are anchored to evidence, which lets them land as recognition rather than appraisal. You decline invitations with respect that leaves dignity unbruised and returns trust with interest. You step back when others need to be seen, and step in when harm would occur without a witness. Your energy is not a rivalry with anyone else's. It is a collaboration with the good. In this way, your charisma becomes a commons. Others draw from it and discover they have more of their own to offer. You are not afraid to be quiet in public. You do not need to claim space with noise to confirm you have it. At the cafe, you share a table with the person scanning for a seat and make room without commentary. On the train, you let your eyes be kind and neutral. In the elevator, you acknowledge with a nod and then return the day to silence. There is a competence in your quiet that does no violence to the space. The competence is felt and filed away as safety by those who notice such things first. The women whose bodies have learned to read rooms long before their minds are invited to. Safety, when it is this breathable, is indistinguishable from charm. You keep a sabbath of the senses. Once in a while, you stand somewhere with no plan to extract. A field, a museum bench, a corner of your own living room when the light remembers how to be kind. You let usefulness sit in the hallway while wonder has the chair. You stay long enough for time to change texture. When you return to your work and your people, you carry the softness of that hour in your voice and at the corners of your eyes. It is subtle, but it is the difference between pressure and presence. People will not know why meetings end calmer when you are there. You will know. You brought a sabbath into the room. And when love chooses you and you choose it back, your energy remains itself. You do not outsource your mood to her attention or your purpose to her approval. You offer both as gifts and you receive both as gifts, and gifts do not become debts. You remain vivid alone and become luminous together. The chemistry between you is not a voltage spike that burns out the grid. It is a grid that can carry celebration, conflict, plan-making, silence, laughter, touch, and rest without flickering. The secret is not fireworks. The secret is power well governed. The secret is an energy that holds its own and therefore has more than enough to share. Walk on, carrying this current with the humility of a man who knows he did not build the laws that make it possible. Tend it, guard it, offer it. Refuse to spend it on performance when it could be invested in presence. The world will feel the difference, and so will she. And when they say you are the most charming man they ever met, it will be because your energy did what power is meant to do. Make life around it more alive. Chosen one, patience is not waiting in disguise. It is craftsmanship, with time as your material. You are not idle while the day decides itself. You are shaping hours the way a luthier bends wood with steam and intention until sound can live there. The feminine heart has learned to treat hurry like sirens. It pulls over, it braces, it prepares to be written a ticket by someone else's urgency. When you arrive without sirens, when your pace carries mercy and not demand, muscles remember softness they thought was gone for good. This is why patience is not merely attractive, it is medicinal. It returns the nervous system to a speed where love can be believed. Begin by keeping an honest calendar inside your chest. The world schedules you with alarms and labels. Your spirit needs seasons. Know the difference between a seed week and a harvest week, between a day fit for building and a day fit for listening, between the hour to act and the hour to watch weather. When you honor seasons, you stop forcing blossoms to impersonate fruit. You ask questions and then let silence finish them. You make an invitation and then give dignity time to answer. You say, "I'm here," not as a fishing line, but as a shoreline that will still exist if the boat circles twice before docking. Patience becomes topography. Women feel it underfoot. It holds. Your messages learn pace. You do not text to erase uncertainty or to invoice attention. You write when you have a complete thought, not an incomplete self. If she answers slowly, you let the space remain space. You do not stack words like furniture in a doorway and then blame the threshold for not letting you through. You keep the last sentence sturdy enough to stand unguarded. This is not strategy. It is respect for the invisible labor of someone else's day. That respect is scented. It smells like cedar and clean linen and rooms where no one is punished for breathing. Patience is not passivity, it is proportion. When a decision is small, you move with decisiveness that spares everyone's energy. When a decision is large, you refuse theatrics and give wisdom its rightful rehearsal time. You do not mistake adrenaline for revelation. You do not ask a frightened yes to do the work that only a peaceful yes can sustain. If a door is locked, you do not rattle it. You step back far enough to see the architecture. The house you are trying to enter might not be yours, or it may open at an angle that makes more sense in spring. You protect dignity by protecting tempo. Practice the rituals that train patience into your marrow. Stir something that takes time and refuse to upgrade the recipe into speed. Water a plant at the same hour for a month until your hands learn fidelity without applause. Walk the same path often enough that you can tell when the maples are changing, days before color declares itself. Pray the prayer that is one sentence long and repeat it daily instead of inventing new speeches to keep God entertained. These ordinary obediences are not aesthetic, they are architecture. Without them, you will always be borrowing poise from performance. With them, you become unstartlable in the ways that matter. In conversation, be the man who lets the story find its legs. People hurry when they have learned that interruption is the price of breathing. You pay the price for them by shouldering the silence, by holding your own cleverness in its pen until the teller is done. Ask the question that widens the road rather than funneling it towards your point. If tears arrive, do not treat them like a fire alarm. Sit with them as if they were rain that knows where to fall. The feminine will memorize this piece and store it in the private pantry where trust keeps its jars. There will be days when you want to pick fruit early because the air is dense with wanting. On those days, place your palms on the table and count 10 breaths that reach your back. Ask yourself whether you are about to claim a gift or corner it. Wait until claiming and cornering feel like different species again. If you move then, your hand will not bruise what it touches. A woman who has known bruising will recognize the difference with her eyes closed. Patience speaks clearly, not coyly. It does not dangle affection like bait to see who bites most urgently. It says, I like you, and it lets liking breathe. It says, I want to know you, and it lets knowing be built from Tuesdays as much as from fireworks. It says, I'm not going anywhere I promise not to go, which is more potent than any vow chased by a drum roll. The truth of those sentences is checked daily by your habits. If you promised presents and gave her a calendar filled with later, patience becomes propaganda. If you promised pace and then sprinted whenever your insecurity got bored, patience becomes a costume. Do the unglamorous maintenance that keeps language honest. Let patience protect humor. Many men use jokes to break tension, the way a child uses noise to prove he isn't afraid of the dark. Your laughter waits for the moment that will carry it without spilling anyone's dignity. It arrives as a lamp, not a flashbang. It widens, it doesn't interrupt. Rooms recalibrate around laughter like that. They remember oxygen. They remember that joy is not an intrusion when it keeps time with tenderness. Patience is the metronome that makes your wit sound like music instead of a test. Do not recruit mystery to do patience's work. Mystery says there is more here, and I will reveal it at the pace that keeps it true. Impatience says there is not enough here, and I will manufacture suspense to keep you interested. One deepens, the other manipulates. Chosen ones learn this distinction in their bones. They refuse to lean on ambiguity when clarity would be kind. They know that nothing accelerates mistrust like a man who uses silence to corner rather than to care. Patience holds failure without dramatizing it. If you err, you repair promptly and proportionally. You do not ask for a standing ovation because you apologized. You do not convert a simple sorry into a sweeping monologue about your growth. You make the fix, you name the boundary you crossed, you return to pace. Trust accrues interest in the bank of small repairs made on time. Women notice deposits like these. Their bodies relax a notch they didn't realize was tense. Let waiting become companionship, not vacancy. If plans change, you do not punish the hour by filling it with scrolling or sulking. You take yourself for coffee. You write the paragraph that needed quiet. You call the friend who forgives you for being earnest. You tend to your own life so completely that when a woman steps back into it, she joins movement rather than dragging it. Nothing is heavier than a man who equals motion with her presence. Nothing is lighter than a man already in motion, joyful to share the road without making the road a leash. Commit to endings that are as measured as beginnings. If the answer is no, honor it without taxation. Do not turn patience into an invoice. Bless the crossing, bless the lesson, bless the door you will not open again, and walk.